Tonight for dinner, we are having a garlic chicken gnocchi skillet. There is not one thing in this recipe that I am not excited about. Almost everything is gonna happen over on the stovetop. I've already prepped all of my ingredients so we can take it all over there. The only thing we have to do first is get these chicken thighs out of the package and season them up really nicely. All right, we have 6 chicken thighs here. I've already seasoned them with some onion powder, some garlic powder, and some salt. And now I'm going to season with a little bit of paprika. This is about 1.5 teaspoons. So I'm gonna flip them, obviously, and season the other side as well, but we wanna get paprika all over them. And I'm gonna let my husband season the other side so that since my hands are already dirty, I can do the rub. While he's doing that, I wanna show you, we already have everything prepped over here and ready to go, because once we move over to the stove, this is all gonna come together pretty quickly, so I wanted to have it all done and ready. Okay, I have a total here of 5 tablespoons. We're gonna add about 2, no, this isn't even 5 tablespoons. Honestly, I said I was gonna use less butter. This is really like closer to 3.5 or 4. We're gonna add about 2 into this skillet that I already actually started heating a minute ago. We're gonna put in this chicken and saute it on both sides for about 5 minutes. Oh, and we are using chicken thighs. I mean, I think you could do this with chicken breasts if you really want to, but the thighs just have such good flavor. Are you ready to see this color? That is the good stuff. Okay, friends, so this is why I did not think the recipe would need a full 5 tablespoons of butter. I still agree it doesn't need that much. We're gonna take the chicken out and just let it sit to the side. It's not fully cooked, but it's gonna go back in just a little bit. This is almost a 1-pot meal. Since we had to make the gnocchi separately, it's not quite there, but it's close. Now I have my heat turned down just a little bit. We're on more like closer to a medium low now. And I'm gonna put in the rest of that butter. Not that we need a whole lot of butter here. Probably don't even need that much. You know what? I'm gonna take some out. So that's like 1 tablespoon. Okay, now we're gonna add in this Italian seasoning, and it's about 1.5 teaspoons. This is gonna add such great fragrance. I like to add ingredients just one at a time and let them incorporate before adding in the next. We've got about 1 cup of sliced mushrooms. I'm gonna add that in. You could obviously skip that if you are not a mushroom fan. My daughter is actually not really a mushroom fan, but I usually try and leave them big enough that she can just pick them out, because everybody else in the family does really like them. This is where you would also want to add onions if you're adding those. We're going to add in about 2 tablespoons of garlic, minced garlic. You guys could be in my kitchen right now to smell this. Oh my goodness. These are just gonna cook for a couple of minutes until the mushrooms have softened up just a bit. Also, when they finally release smell-o-vision, which you know is inevitably gonna happen, y'all are gonna need it, because our kitchen has been smelling so good lately. Okay, we have 1 cup of chicken bone broth. We're gonna add that in. You can just use chicken broth or chicken stock if that's your preference. And let's mix that together. And we have a 1/2 cup of heavy whipping cream. Add all that in. Still got my heat on medium. I'm just gonna let this work together for a couple of minutes. Now, this recipe called for a 1/2 cup of mozzarella. We have about 1/4 maybe. So unfortunately, we're gonna run a little short on the cheese, but I'm gonna top this with an Asiago blend just to add extra cheese to the top. Somebody in our house used all the cheese today. I don't know who that was, but it was somebody. Okay, now we don't have the amount of cheese that we need, so this might not thicken up quite as much as we would like it to. We'll see how this works. I've got it on a saute to reduce a little bit. Also, whenever you're adding cheese to something that has like a heavy whipping cream or any type of dairy already in it, add slowly. That's kind of a tip, because otherwise I don't know what you call it. It almost looks like it's curdled, but it just kind of separates. So that's my tip of the day for this video. Just add slowly. All right, so we pre-cooked the gnocchi according to the package instructions. It just goes into some boiling water for about 3 minutes, and you want to stir, and then you drain it off. So we just put it into a colander and drained it off. Now we're gonna add the gnocchi back into this recipe here with this sauce. Now, if you're really ambitious, you can make your own gnocchi too. It's actually not that hard, but I am making this a quicker dinner. So if you wanna make it quick and easy, then you can buy it. Add this and just break it up. It's been sitting in that colander for a few minutes, so it's stuck together. Okay, you guys, we're gonna add in some spinach. We need about 3 cups of spinach, and apparently there's some controversy here about leaving the stems on the spinach. This is baby spinach, but feel free to cut the leaves off. We've never had an issue with it, but I need to know in the comments, do you cut the stems off of your baby spinach or do you leave them on? You guys really talked about it in the comments last time I did something with spinach. Okay, we're gonna start to combine this and let that spinach wilt. Okay, we've got a nice combination here. So I'm gonna add the chicken back in, and we'll just set it on top. We're gonna let all of this cook for just a few more minutes. I let the chicken cook enough that the inside should be mostly done. I may actually put a lid on this just for a couple of minutes just to make sure that chicken is completely done, but we don't want it to overcook either. Try and kind of nestle it in there. Let's try this together. I tasted a little bite of gnocchi before it went in the sauce, and it was already good. It's perfection. It's like the perfect level of saltiness, and the sauce is delicious. Okay, we gotta try this chicken. I already know it's gonna be good with that sauce on it and the spinach. Let's get a bite of chicken with a little bit of mushroom. It is so good. And guys, you do not need 5 tablespoons of butter. It just doesn't need it. It's got, the chicken thighs have so much flavor in and of themselves, and then you put the heavy cream on top of that and the chicken broth, you've got all the butter flavor that you need. The only thing that I think you could do differently is saute the gnocchi in a little bit of butter, but I don't think it needs it. It's just another thing that you could do. It is so good. We are going to make a sausage and rice skillet that is always a crowd pleaser in our house. Everybody loves all of the ingredients in this, and they are always really excited once it gets to the table. Also, benefit, it's made in one pot. Let's add a little bit of oil into our pan and start to get that heated up. All right, now if you're using a smoked sausage for this, it's gonna take a little less effort, but this is an Italian sausage. I'm just gonna cut this into bite-sized pieces, and obviously you can do this with a knife if that's what you prefer, but this is just so easy to do like this. Now, if it's a smoked sausage, it's gonna hold its shape because it's really already cooked. So you're just sauteing it. I'm actually cooking my sausage. Another thing you can do is saute your links first and then cut them afterward. I like to get a good sear on all of these, so that's why I'm choosing to do it this way. All right, the sausage is nice and cooked, so we are going to add in some garlic cloves. It's about 3 cloves. This doesn't really take long at all. We're just gonna let this garlic saute for just a minute. And you have some of that oil left in there from your sausages that have been cooking up, and that is gonna add so much flavor. Thing I like to do before I put in all the liquid is add in my rice, and that's just so it can toast up a little bit before adding all the other stuff. So just let your rice toast for a minute or two, and it just adds so much extra flavor. It's soaking up all those flavors at the bottom there. I'm gonna add in this can of fire roasted diced tomatoes and green chili. So this is a Rotel. I've been really enjoying the fire roasted one lately though, so that's the one I've been choosing. We have 2.5 cups of chicken broth, and all of this is gonna go in. For the spices, let's add about a teaspoon of paprika. I'm adding only about 1/8 to 1/4 teaspoon of cayenne. You can go more if you want more heat. And we're adding a little bit of salt and pepper, just about a teaspoon or so. 1/2 teaspoon or so. All right, let's let all this mix together. We're gonna turn up that heat and let it come to a boil. All right, we have a boil, and that is what we want. So let's put the lid on. I'm gonna turn it down to a simmer. And let's let this cook for about 20 minutes. All right, we have a perfect 1-pot meal. Rice is done, sausage in there. I'm gonna top it with some parsley. That parsley just adds beautiful color, right? Look how good it looks. Let's give this a taste. You know, I love adding the green on the top. You gotta have that little bit of color. You've got that sausage in there, the red from the tomatoes. So good. It's really hot. That's literally the perfect amount of savory versus spice. The heat is absolutely perfect. I love this one. It's so hearty and heartwarming to me. This is always a winner in my book. All right, friends, the majority of tonight's recipe is actually gonna be cooked over on the stovetop. But before we do anything else, we've got to get our potatoes cut. Now, the recipe actually says to slice potatoes. I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna cube them. I don't really have a good reason for this. I feel like it would just be good with cubed potatoes. I am also not going to peel our potatoes, but if that's something that you prefer to do, that's totally fine. Also, I am a little, what's the word I'm looking for? This explains exactly how I feel. Not put together right now. I just got off of a call. Normally I have dinner pretty much done by now. Just got off of a call. I have to make this dinner, and then I have another call in 1 hour. So this will be very interesting. Disorganized, maybe that's the word, but I don't even think it's that. I don't know, I can't think of the word. Crazy? That's probably the best word. Okay, you're going to add whatever your cooking oil preference would be. I'm using olive oil for this recipe. I'm gonna let that get a little bit hot, and then we're gonna add in those potatoes. All right, so we're just letting these potatoes saute for a couple of minutes. We're not looking for them to get all the way done, but we do want to get a little bit of color on them. So I have my heat turned up pretty high. We want some of the beef to get color like that right there. Not beef, these are potatoes. We want some of the potatoes to get color like that right there. So we're just sauteing them just so we get some of that. All right, while these continue to saute, I am going to add in some mushrooms. So I've got a pack of mushrooms here. I'm only gonna add about half. Now I'm just covering this for just a minute just to see if we can get it to move a little bit quicker. Okay, I'm gonna turn my heat, well, we'll turn it off. We are going to transfer this to a plate and then cook our ground beef. And then this is gonna come back in a couple minutes. We are going to completely brown up this ground beef. So that is nice and brown. Let's go ahead and add back in those potatoes and the mushrooms. Okay, we're gonna season this up with a little bit of paprika, about a teaspoon. So I'm going to season, stir, season again. We also are going to add a little bit of onion powder because we didn't add onions. So this is gonna be maybe a half teaspoon. And same with garlic powder, about a half teaspoon. I don't have any mustard powder, like ground mustard. I'm gonna use some stone ground mustard, actual mustard. I know it's not the same thing, but it's gonna add good flavor. So I'm just gonna add about a teaspoon of that. Let's stir this and then I will add a little more seasoning. My heat is currently on medium. Honestly, I could stop right here with this recipe. To me, this looks delicious. There's more that's going into it, but I would be totally fine with this one right here too. Okay, let's add a little more of that paprika, onion powder, and garlic powder. And obviously you can add salt and you can add pepper and whatever you wanna add at this point. Now, this recipe says to add 1.5 cups of broth. I do not think that's gonna be necessary. I'm gonna start with even just a little less than 1 cup of bone broth. So I'm gonna give this another little stir here and then put the lid on, and this is gonna cook for about 5 to 10 minutes. Then we will add the rest of the necessary ingredients. And my heat is still on a medium. All right, I have about a cup, just under a cup of Greek yogurt here. We're gonna add this in. Our heat is currently on low. The recipe calls for 2 cups of cheese, but I'm gonna add in just around a cup. I feel like 2 cups for this amount is a bit much. Let's start to incorporate that. I also have some cornstarch mixed in water, and we are gonna pour that in and just let this thicken up for just a couple minutes. So this is just gonna simmer 1 to 2 minutes, and it should be good to go. I am gonna top it with a little bit of parsley just for color. Doesn't this look so good? It came together in just a couple of minutes. This one is one of those ones where you can throw it together really quickly. You're only dirtying 1 pot in your kitchen, and it's something everybody in the family can enjoy. Solid flavors, all good. When the recipe said to use 1.5 cups of liquid, absolutely not. You do not need that much liquid. You might even need less liquid than I used, but the flavors are great. Tonight for dinner, we have, where are my little spatulas? What do you think? Do you think it smells good? Our verse this week comes from Psalm 143, 9 through 10. Deliver me from my enemies, O Lord. I have fled to you for refuge. Teach me to do your will, for you are my God. Let your good spirit lead me on level ground. If you enjoyed this video, I highly suggest that you check out the video above. You are going to get more inspiration and encouragement there. Have a great week.